I think we did a really cool thing today, which has got you guys in, got your look, and got some stuff that we got back from you, and heard some stuff back from you, and heard some things a bit louder than we expected. And
some of us didn't expect it.
And hopefully you guys actually got something out of coming in today. Yes? Yeah. One of the hard things, like obviously we didn't go and show you the place that we go and suck all the information out of your brain and keep all that information, the dim dark recesses, the underground lair basically of Microsoft. But we really are very interested in the process as we develop Windows and really as we develop software across Microsoft at trying to get a broad reach of people that we speak to. And obviously when you make something like Windows, which is the most popular software product of all time, you can't speak to everybody who gets it. But you guys fit in a very interesting category for us, being people who are early adopters and are early users and are really interested in what we're doing. So the people who are around from last night, which is probably about half of you, heard we've got about 3 months till we RTM. You would have heard today a lot of the big stuff that we've got to complete on. And I said this last night, I'll say the quick version. The three things are upgrades. Windows 98 upgrades, Windows 9X upgrades. When we can rid the world of that thing, will be a good thing. But we've just got to get it right. And today we're not doing as good a job as I would have actually liked. So that's our biggest job that we've got to complete on. Number two is driving the rest of the community and people who are writing drivers to get to the right quality bar. We just talked before about an 802.11 driver or set of drivers that really weren't up to the same quality bar and to a degree up to the usability bar that we really want the world to get to. Because, what we've got to do is we've got to focus on quality. Quality is the thing that we really want from Windows, and we want Windows XP to be remembered as, this is the point where Microsoft got it so right for everybody. Okay? We think that we got there a lot with Windows 2000. We're already hearing from some of our customers that they think Beta 2 is better than Windows 2000. Personally, I don't believe it. I don't think we're there yet. I don't think we're anywhere near there yet. But we're on the right track. So the third area is application compatibility. And you guys know this, and we're getting better and better and better, but we've got to be able to drive the industry and drive the compatibility. And that's the stuff that we've got to do between now and when we sign off. We usually sign off it's about a 2-month period from when we sign off to the launch. And unless you're blind or you've missed everything that's going on, you probably have seen the launch announcements and all that sort of stuff out there. So John and I are around there. We also got a bunch of other people around who can do Q&A because basically when you get to home networking and Andrew's in the room, I'm just going to shut up. So do we want to do any overall questions? We've got about 15, 20. And I'm going to watch the Mariners kick the snot out of the Yankees. Okay. So anybody want to ask anything? Okay. Jeanette.
Coming out here to be trained on being associate experts. And we haven't talked about that at all. What's going to be our role?
That's coming up when he's gone. Okay. The question was that Jeanette here thought that you guys are coming out here to get trained on how to be associate experts.
You were trained all day long. You learned about home networking, how to work the app compat tools. That's exactly what the training was, is how to be an expert to do other people.
And the funny thing is that I think that 90% of the people in the room don't really need a lot of training. Okay, I think it's just a discussion about what we think is the right way to message things out and all that sort of stuff, rather than, how much are we going to teach you guys about Windows? I don't know. Do you guys want to have a lesson on, here's the start button? No. I don't know. Let's say, you people wouldn't have gone to all the expense and time and all that sort of stuff coming here, I believe, unless you really knew what you were talking about in the first place, because you knew the level of stuff that you'd hear today. So from our side, that's a really cool thing. That's why we've gone and got people from the dev team and dim dark recesses that you'd probably never normally see to come out and talk to you today and hear what you guys have to say. So, next one.
Okay, I had a question on that since I personally have a store. At what point can we start demoing and trying to push this product right here?
At what point can you guys start demoing and pushing Windows XP for your customers? That's the question from Larry. So really, what we kind of we're just working out what we can actually. The thing that we'll do is, and this is what happened with Windows 2000. If you remember that time where we signed off in December and we launched in February, guys like Dell were out there selling the boxes with Windows 2000 on it before we'd actually launched. And that was all tied up in a thing we call embargo, which basically says you can't do any massive advertising around it, but you can talk about it when you've actually got the proper copies to do that. We usually are able to fill the channel, according to people who know all about this sort of stuff, a couple of weeks before the launch. And that's our aim.
I normally get products about 2 weeks before.
Okay, so Larry says he gets it about 2 weeks beforehand. So there you go. Okay, so just when you got real copies, just you can't stick advertising up, but you can talk to them.
But I guess the question is, can he have it running on a PC in the corner and just show it to somebody if they ask today? And I'd have to say, I mean, you guys are going to be closer to that than we are.
Well, let me take that down.
I can demo to anybody, but
Yeah, let me take that down a notch from customers. You all know that you're all getting 5 copies of the Windows Preview program. Some of you are probably already signed up for the Windows Preview program, and that's coming out at RC1. And what we want you to do with those 5 copies is not install it on your 5 machines. We want you to give it to your friends, to your family members, to anybody you think might be really jazzed about it, and help them out. Link up with them with remote assistance. Get out on the Expert Zone News Group portal. Really just get out there and really spread that message and really just help people just to get up on it and be excited about it. And that's the goal that we have with giving you that, is that you will give it away.
So the only other thing to add to that is that, at some point, Larry, you'll start to get material that will help you to demo the product, right? We'll give you scenarios to walk through. So that gives a more balanced view of the product when you're actually demoing it to people.
Some things that were discussed as bugs being reported and being closed as not reproducible. All right, and we've been asked to get with the project with the very program managers.
So just so you understand, we have a group called NT Repro. They actually work for John. There's there's
about a dozen people.
There's about a dozen. They tend to, like, you go down the hallway, there's always one new person down there. I don't know what they do to be able to get more people in there. But their job is to be, after we've gone through and done some vetting, to actually go and do the first level of reproduction on bugs, all that sort of stuff. And the reality is that with a product the size of Windows, some of the more obscure things aren't going to get through. We're going to, first of all, like, if we go and drop a build out and 100 people come back the first day and say this is broken, we're going to focus on that, and we're going to put a lot more wood behind that than someone saying, my classic one from last night, the 97th USB device that I plug in does something weird. We definitely do want to go through and get as much repro on bugs as possible, but some of the time it is actually, this is the weird and hard thing about Windows, is that with all the combinations that are out there, some of the times it is hard for us to get repros on things. There's one down there.
Getting more themes.
We're getting more themes. You'll see you saw today, I think you saw Metallic and Homestead today, and they come in, they'll be in not the next IDW, which is 2475.
Which you should get about Wednesday or Thursday of next week.
Yeah, that'll be in, I think we'll do 2480, maybe 81, depending on a couple of things and when a couple of things come in. And you'll get those themes in there. We are not 100%. We basically cut back on. We thought we would be able to get 5 new themes in there. We don't think we'll be able to do that, but we're looking at other ways that we can actually get more themes out for people in the time between, say, when we sign off and when we release. And then we're also looking at what happens about theming toolkits and stuff like that. But like the big thing I would actually say to you guys, and not to rip on anybody who's written cool software or anything like that, any third-party theme probably hasn't had the same perf work that we've done. So any third-party theme that you're going to put on your machine, you're probably going to have some other performance effects or maybe some other effects on the system. So I generally would warn against going out and getting third-party themes just because of the perf effects that we've seen. Because we know about a bunch of things that we have to work around in specific video drivers and specific cases. And so I would just warn about that secondary thing. But we're definitely looking what we do there. Okay, yes, gentlemen.
Any plans for any server interim builds?
Is there any plans for any server interim builds? Yeah, but you've got to understand, the server is, if we're 3 months from the client finishing, server is 9 months from finishing. And there's a reason why we did the split. The split actually came up for 2 reasons. And just so you guys understand, I'll tell you about it. One was, we have a bad habit of wanting to put more crap in the product. You know, after we start out, that's kind of the realistic way. That's the way I'd actually say it. We had a look at IAS and we had a look at what we were doing in the
translation. We have customer needs that we still need to fulfill.
We had a look at IAS, especially what we've done with Windows 2000, and we are doing really, really well with IAS, and it's actually gone on a lot of big websites. If you go and have a look at Netcraft studies, you know, there's some really great wins that we've actually got out there. Great performance, great availability, and all that sort of stuff. Have we finished the job we've got to do there? No, we're constantly hearing things that we can do to actually increase the performance and actually make the product better and actually change some of the models around what we're doing. So that was one. Two is there's a whole thing around ASP.NET and managed code and the .NET framework that ended up being very important stuff for us when we started looking into it, and stuff that we felt would really make a difference to the server product in that sort of time frame. So we added those 2 things. We added a couple of little sort of updates to the directory from what we found out from people, and basically the timelines weren't going to hit this year. And the server is very different from the client. The client's all about, the OEM market is a very important thing in the clients and what they do for Christmas. The server, you know, you don't care about anything until it's right, okay? And, you know, like, there are a lot more, it takes a lot longer to coalesce the server out to finishing and doing all those things because the directory has a lot more nuances to it, DNS has a lot more nuances to it, blah, 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 all these other things. But timelines are always a lot longer for server components, and, you know, it's just having the right end game. And it's basically when we can get into a known state or a known state for the server, and there was no way we were actually going to be able to do, I even believe this year, for getting into a totally known state for the server.
So to answer your question, we will do occasional interim builds of servers available, but it's enough extra work that it's easier to turn around the clients, and we only do a few builds on the server, take it to IDS where we can ship it. We actually reached IDS on 69 today, literally this morning.
It takes a lot
it wasn't
longer
ready
for us
until
to get
today.
to IDS as well, and we put some of those in production. We're only going to do 3 more, so he had his hand up.
Might be a little early to ask this too, but have you any idea how they're going to work certifications for Windows XP? I'm kind of disinclined to finish a Windows 2000 certification.
Certification for Windows 2000 will be valid for Windows XP. Okay, there may be some extra thing that you can do. For the certification type of the world, if Windows XP is nothing but a .1 release on top of Windows 2000, I think we'd be killing ourselves. Now, I'll say the other side of this, and this is why I think that it was a good idea for us to do the Force upgrade for people on the NT4 cert, is in 1999, I'd moved over to the Windows group. I'd previously been in the Exchange group. But in 1999, I got a notification from a certain company based in Provo, Utah, telling me that my certification on their servers was now invalid. Now, to tell you the truth, the previous time I'd actually touched one of those servers was 1995. You know, like just before we did the first version of Exchange Server, which is what I'd previously worked on. That's ridiculous. That was a joke that I could have walked in somewhere and said, hey, I'm a CNE. You know, look at this. And that was a ridiculous thing. And certification's either got to be meaningful or not. And so we've got to make sure it's meaningful. I'll do him too, because I think he had his hand up before, so I'll do you and... Okay.
What you said is that .NET framework is not going to be in professional.
.NET framework, the question is, what I said is the .NET framework is not in professional or home edition. That is correct.
Professional later because of
We're looking at what we do, but generally I would expect that it's going to be a download or an install as you need it. And the reason for that is that I don't particularly, like I think we've signed up, we've already sort of let the cat out of the bag that we might have one or two things coming in the early, with the client timed out with the time we're releasing the server. But, I open the floodgates and I'm just in another, like the whole team's in another crunch 6-month client release, and we don't think that's the right thing for the market. We don't think that's the right thing to do. The things that I think are important to get there are some interesting pieces of technology like Bluetooth and like USB 2.0. But it all depends on the quality of the drivers and the components that we get. We're not going to get swayed by people saying you've got to have the latest piece of flash technology just because it's there. It's got to be the right quality or it's not going in Windows, and that's the way it is. .NET Framework will make it easy for people to actually distribute the .NET Framework. People will be able to, there'll be a free distribution of the .NET, the common language runtime. Sorry? I have no idea. It's not my part of the project, and the one that's in Windows is actually significantly smaller. There are multiple levels of the common language runtime.
Could you share with us your vision for how you see device drivers being installed down the line? Right now, I think most average users see it as being more of an art form than a science, that you depending upon which vendor you're going to, whether it's an EXE or you're going to unzips or it doesn't zip, and it just, it drives me crazy.
It drives us crazy too, because what we find is that because there are, so this is all about device drivers and the way that things should be installed. And I've got to say that there are people who live and breathe specifically device drivers, specific ones each day, and they usually have different fights about what things are. What we really first want to do, and we're doing with Windows XP, is we want to close up sort of some of the slimy backdoor methods. Shove an INF in there and just copy a couple of files across and expect it to work. So we want to close up some of those sort of loops. That always creates other compatibility issues, which is a very interesting thing to deal with in itself. The reality is that what we're trying to push people to, and trying to push the world to, and I know there are some people who disagree with us doing this, but the real is getting people to actually go through the process where they certify their drivers so they're signed, and either have one or two methods of actually getting it. The device gets detected, the user's got the CD, it comes in with that detection, or it's up on something like Windows Update and actually gets downloaded to the machine. Now, the reason why we want to go for certification, and we are pushing for vendors to do that, and we actually have increased our timelines around certification. So if you run the tests and you do self-signing, if you're one of these vendors, you can actually get a signature back on your bits in 24 hours today, which is a huge improvement over the past. The reason we want to do it is that we know that it's met some base quality level. Okay, there's some such crap that I've seen on. I got a device the other day. Oh, actually, 3 weeks ago, I got a device that I plugged in and instantly blue screened my machine. Now, I got someone to come around and debug it, and when we had a look into the reality, they'd done a whole bunch of slimy stuff around how they were installing the driver, and that's just not got to work with Windows XP. And we've either got to, and now we've got the possibility of actually being able to block bad drivers, say, no, this can't be loaded on because we know that causes the blue screen. The whole ecosystem of PCs has got to be raised up, and everybody you can't just go and say, quality is something we're going to sort of hallucinate around being able to get. You've got to do real engineering decisions to actually lift the game, and that's our whole thing. We're trying to say, that the analogy is that the PC is an ecosystem, and it's really true if you think about what's going on there. We're always dependent on all the drivers or whatever app that's come in, or if you think about it's a bear wandering around in the woods and wanders over and grabs the fish that's been downstream from the nuclear power plant and has 3 eyes on it and eats it, they're probably going to fall over and die. That's exactly like a PC. It goes and gets some random thing that's been butchered up by a bunch of people, hasn't had any idea about quality about it, and you expect that to run to any great degree. We've got to make, the reality for us as geeks, no offense if you are offended, but I'm quite proud to be a geek. The reality for us is that we can deal with some amount of shit on using the system, okay? The end users should not have to deal with that, okay? We generally, if you're here, you like actually playing around with some of this stuff, okay? The end users should not. It just should work, and that's our aim, and that's the real thing that we think we've made huge ground with Windows XP. And you know, I've got to thank you guys for helping us on that sort of stuff. So I gotta go.
Thank you. Thanks, Iain.